first and foremost, a big fat hello, hi, welcome to the webinar. I am so stinking excited to be here. I'm so excited that you're here, and I'm excited that we get to spend this chunk of time together tonight. My name is Carmen, and I am a trainer with Destiny Global. And Destiny Global is actually, we are a training company that has been around for more than 30 years. And the track record that has been created inside of this company to equip people just like you and me to go from ordinary to extraordinary, to take people from a dream and a hope to giving them the how-tos, the simple steps on how to actually go out and get the life that most people only dream of but never obtain. Here at Destiny Global, we have a team of people that are passionate about you, that are passionate about you seeing you go from where you're at to where you want to be. And so with that being said, if you are on the Facebook page, if you are on the Instagram page, make sure to follow, make sure to hit that like button. We're going to be doing live training on a monthly basis right here, free live training with actionable success skills, tips, strategies that you can apply inside of your home-based business, your traditional business, your corporation, if you're an employee on the job. These are success tips. And the thing that I know about success tips is some of the same tips that I used to take a business from 720,000 to 9.1 million are the same success tips that I use today in raising our 3 kids. Because success tips work in business, they work in finances, they work in marriage, they work in parenting. Having success in parenting is a lot like having success in business, because sometimes running a business feels like parenting. And so you are going to want to make sure you don't miss any of the exciting things that we have coming to round out the back half of this year, and then the exciting things we have coming to start 2022. I wish I could just tell you everything. I can't yet, but just know there's some exciting things coming. But tonight, we're going to be talking about 3 keys to unlocking your potential. 3 keys to unlocking that hidden potential that has been hidden, and maybe at times you've wondered, maybe at times you've watched other people go from stressed and struggling and striving to being the poster child of success. Maybe you've been on the sidelines watching other people go from rags to riches to these crazy, insane stories. Maybe you've watched other people maybe you've been sitting on the sidelines watching other people go on to pay off all of their debt, including their mortgage, in 5 to 7 years. And so these strategies are going to be a foundation. They're going to be 3 keys to helping you, no matter where you're at, improve your situation starting tonight. And so let's go ahead and dive in. So our first strategy that I want to talk about, and this one was really big for me when I first started in business, because I did not do this one at all. In fact, I would have been like the perfect poster child of what not to do when it comes to this category. And so number 1 is going to be your priorities. Your priorities. And so there's different sets and different levels of priorities that we can have when it comes to our personal life, our business life. And so often in business, so often on the road to success, one of the things that commonly happens is we get our priorities out of whack. We get our priorities out of order. And one of the things that I have learned through 19 years of building business is when we have our priorities out of order, it creates stress. It creates striving. It creates resentment. It creates bitterness. It creates struggle. It creates, why am I doing this? And what the heck is this all for? And so how do I know that? Well, because I made a mess. I really was the poster child for how to screw up your priorities in the very beginning. Why? Because I grew up on poverty. I grew up in a double wide trailer for a good chunk of my younger years. We finally moved into a house, I think when I was 17 years old. And my parents, they were amazing people. They did their best. But life doesn't come with a manual, right? It doesn't come with a manual on how to succeed, how to create wealth, how to do any of those. You kind of get thrown out at 18, and you got to kind of figure the stuff out, right? And some of us figure it out quickly, and some of us, it takes decades to figure it out. And so, hey, it took Colonel Sanders all the way till he was like in his 60s to figure it out. So you still got time. You're okay. But in the very, coming from a poverty upbringing, coming from not having a lot of money, in my young, naive mind, part of being somebody was making money. Part of being somebody, part of being important, part of proving that I was somebody was not only making money, but getting all the things that money could buy. The nice house, the nice car, the nice clothes, the nice jewelry, and all of those things. And at a very young age, I naively believed that I could sacrifice everything in the beginning, make money, and then I could throw my money at whatever problems had been created and clean it all up. But there's a couple things that, a lot of things that money can't clean up. One is a marriage. Money can't repair lost time. It can't repair lack of trust. It can't repair feeling neglected because somebody's never there. Money doesn't rewind time when it comes to your kids. And so one of the things, after getting to a place where I was working 80 to 90 hours a week, after getting to a place, my first year of marriage, where we wound up knocking on divorce's doorstep, after getting to a place where our priorities were all out of whack, where literally money and work were our top priority. And we really believed that if we just had more money, it would fix all of our problems. And that is what most of the world believes. This is why we have a large chunk of the population whose retirement plan is winning the lottery. This is why we have a large chunk of the population that plays the lottery on the regular. Because most people believe, just as I did, that most of our problems come from lack of money. And if we had money, we would have a lack of problems. And what I'm going to tell you, being on the broke side of making no money, being poor, and then being on the side of making money and not being poor, lack of priorities will jack up everything if you're not careful. And if you sacrifice everything to make money, when you get there, when you get to the place where you thought you wanted to be, it'll feel empty. And you're going to have fires and created a mess all over the place. So after we did this, after we jacked everything up, we went on to hire some professionals inside of our marriage. We went on to hire some professionals to show us, okay, how do we actually do this? Like, how do we have a happy marriage? How do we raise good kids where I can look in the mirror at the end of the day and go, you know what? I'm not a perfect mom, but I gave it my best. And also have a kick butt business. Also go out and make an impact in the corporate world or whatever it is that you do for work, right? And so one of the first things that I learned is having my priorities in order. What matters most? And one of the things that I learned through 19 years in building business is that when you do chase money, and when money is your top priority, have you ever chased money before? I mean, come on, I know you're in your home, I'm in my office, but that's okay. We can act silly together. Give me your hand, raise your hand if you have ever chased money. You ever chased money? I could raise both hands, both feet. Like, I have totally been in a place in business where I have chased money. And the times when I'm chasing money, and money's been my priority, and making money has been my priority, you know what seems to happen? It seems to outrun me. The money runs faster than I can run. Have you ever noticed that? When all of a sudden, like, you're like, oh my gosh, I need to make money. And you're going into work and you have that pressure and that stress of, I need to make money. I need to make money. Not only is it exhausting, but when you're chasing money, it'll run faster. It'll outrun you. It's like that carrot. You ever seen the cartoon where it has like the carrot attached to the stick and the carrot's like dangling? And as the person's moving, the carrot keeps moving because it's like the dangling carrot. That's how success in money is a lot of times. And so I found in business that having the right priority in business, which is helping my clients succeed, helping my customers succeed, adopting the mantra and the priority that if I help enough people get what they want, then I will eventually get what I want. If I help enough people succeed, if I help enough people with my product or my service or whatever it is that my company offers, then I will be unusually successful. But do you see the difference? One is making other people the focus. One is making myself the focus. One is putting the focus on my needs. The other is putting the focus on what other people need. And have you ever been dealing with a company or a person and you can just tell in their eyes, it's almost like they have dollar signs in their eyes, and you can like literally see that they are staring you down and they're only talking to you because they want to get in your back pocket. They want to get in your pants. They want to get into your back pocket. I know some of you thought, that's not what I'm saying. Get your mind out of the gutter. They want to get into your back pocket and they want to get your visa. That's what they want. And when someone is talking to you and they only are interested in your Visa card, what's our knee-jerk reaction? It's like, nope, no thank you, talk to the hand, I'm out of here. We don't want to deal with those people because it's manipulation. It's usury. And on the flip side of that, have you also dealt with companies or people who truly had your best interest at heart, who truly wanted to help you before they wanted to make anything? When you deal with that kind of company or that kind of person who has the priorities in the right order of the company, helping the customer first, money second. Listen, we all know that companies are in business to make money. We all know that to succeed as a company, you have to make money. But if that is your priority, is making money, it's going to run from you. So that's business. Let's talk about the home for a second. So I told you about the mistake that we made prioritizing money and business over our marriage and our family. And what wound up happening is we did make money. We did make money, but our marriage was a mess. We were on divorce's doorstep. I had a plan to hire somebody else to take care of my kid the entire time. And all of a sudden I was like, no, like, why do I have to choose? Why can't I why can't I have both? Why can't I have a happy marriage? Why can't I be fulfilled as a mom and go out and do business? But it has to start with your priorities. So for me, it was listing out my priorities. And for me personally, it was putting God as a priority first, myself as a priority second, my marriage as a priority third, my kids as the fourth priority, and my work as the fifth priority. So imagine right before I made this shift of God, me, my husband, my kids, work. It used to be work. My husband, it was all out of whack. And one of the misconceptions I had was that if I somehow had my husband as a higher priority than work, then that meant I had to spend more time with my husband than I did work. And in my brain, I'm like, how is that going to be possible? There's no way I can spend the same amount of time with my husband as I do at work. No, that's not what it's about at all. What it's really about is, what order do I put things on my schedule? What order am I lining things up and putting them on my schedule? And so what are your priorities? And it's literally running every decision you make in business through your priorities. So if your marriage is the priority, does working 80 hours a week honor that priority? If being a good parent is the priority, but you're spending no time with your kids and someone else is raising them, does that honor the priority? So, and listen, your priorities are your priorities. Just like my priorities are my priorities. Your priorities aren't wrong. They're just one of the mistakes I see most people make, a lot of people make, that I made. Shoot, who am I kidding? Is I compared my priorities to other people's priorities. And if there was another mom that was like, no, I'm not going to work at all, and my priority is to stay at home with my kids 100% of the time, that somehow I would allow myself to feel guilty because my priorities didn't match hers. Or if there was another mom that was like, I'm going to work 60 hours a week and I'm going to hire a nanny who's qualified to help with my kids, and I'm going to spend weekends with the kids. That somehow judging the person who, listen, it's not about judging someone else's priorities. It's about setting up the priorities in your life that work for you, that work according to your goals. And when you get home and you look in the mirror at the end of the night, you can look in the mirror and feel 100% satisfied with your decisions for the day. Because that's really what it's about. It's not about comparing your priorities to somebody else's. We all have our own goals, our own visions, our own things that we're going towards. And so my question for you on this first thing of unlocking your potential is, what are your priorities? Are you maybe in the place that I was a decade ago, where my priorities were all out of whack? I was chasing money instead of relationships. I was putting tasks over people. I cared more about, when I looked at somebody, I saw the dollar sign that they would bring in towards the company versus the life that could be impacted by our company's product or service. And when you start flipping that switch, it is a game changer in business. You start creating advocates out of your customers. They start feeling valued because you're actually valuing them. It's the same thing inside of your home. When all of a sudden our marriage became a higher priority than work, and we actually started scheduling things like date nights and stuff like that. And listen, next month, I'm going to be coming at you. I'm going to be live again on a webinar, and we're going to be talking about different strategies to maximize your time. And so if you struggle with time management at all, you want to make sure that you mark that on your calendar. I think it will be back in I don't know. And we'll be back in a couple weeks. You'll watch the Facebook page, watch the Instagram page. We'll make sure you know when that's happening. But we're going to be talking about some strategies to maximize your time. But when we started putting the time in the right place with our marriage, and we started making the marriage the priority. Again, didn't mean it got the most amount of time, but it was a priority. We took a date night every week. We got away for a long weekend. We saw our marriage start to thrive. We saw fulfillment start to happen in so many different areas of our life. We started to create a life that at a decade earlier seemed unimaginable. Like, it seemed unimaginable that you could be happily married, have a good business, and be a parent. Like, that seemed like Disney World, never gonna happen, fantasy land. Now, don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying it doesn't take work. What I'm saying is it's possible. With the right skills, putting your priorities in order, it's possible. Listen, the only thing separating you from where you're at and where you want to be, the only thing separating you from where you're at and all those success stories you've seen, that you followed, that you long to hear, it's just a couple skills. That is it. And have you ever learned a skill before? Have you ever learned a skill? I know the answer for all of us is yes. And so if you've learned one skill, that means you can learn another skill. And so that's it. The only thing separating you from the life you have to the life you want are a couple skills. That is it. Isn't that great news? Isn't that like amazing news? All right. Our second key to getting you to unlocking your potential is honor. 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 I know some of y'all just went, what? Honor who, what, where? Honor. Okay? All right. So first and foremost, I want to start off with what the definition of honor actually is. Okay? So honor means high respect, great esteem. Okay? It means to adherence to what is right, to fulfill an obligation or keep an agreement, to give special recognition, or to accept as payment. Okay? So honor. Now, I want to also, a couple more things before we unpack this and break this down. I want to go over some synonyms of honor. So a synonym is like a word that means something similar, okay? Glory, tribute, kudos, prestige, fame, integrity, respect, observe, execute, faith, reputation, trust, dignity, credit, and confidence. Those are all synonyms for the word honor, okay? Now I want to give you a couple antonyms, which basically means the opposite of honor. Check these out. The antonyms, I'm a big fan of definitions. Like, what does an actual word mean? Because I believe that word is seed. And as we speak, we literally are almost writing our next chapters in our life. Because if you think about your life, you've lived life up to this point. And the actions we do today are going to determine what our tomorrow holds. And so I love to look at what the words say about words, because word is seed. So the antonyms for honor are blame, criticism, neglect, condemnation, unimportance, depression, humiliation, disgrace, scorn, and disregard. So if you just look at words, and if you just track with me for 1 minute as word is seed, honor is freaking huge. And we live in a world today that we live in a social media world, and I think social media is amazing. It's an amazing tool that we all have as human beings to be able to connect with people, to be able to build business, to be able to spread the word on what it is we have to offer. Social media helps some of my family that we don't live by get to see my kids. So social media is amazing. However, we live in a world today, and social media hasn't helped with this, but the world we live in today severely lacks honor. It lacks honor. And we live in a world where most people's attitude when it comes to honor is I'll honor when I'm honored. And when I'm not honored, I won't honor. So we live in a world that's a tit for tat. I'm going to do to you what you do to me. We live in a pessimistic, crazy, negative, judgy world. And I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying as a whole, that is a large chunk of the world. We live in a world where most people are going to focus on the problem versus the solution. So first and foremost, when you do this one right here, when you do number 2, and we're going to unpack this a little bit and talk about this, but when you actually become a person who has a code of honor for your fellow human being, where you honor above all else, you honor above being right, you honor above a difference of opinion, you put honor above a difference of a political opinion, you honor another human being above the difference of a medical opinion. You honor another human being's differences in opinions, the way they think, the way they act. When you honor first, you become a very rare, unique, sought after commodity. You become a person that is so attractive to everybody else, potential customers, potential clients. The human race cannot help themselves but be attracted to you when you are a person of honor. When you honor, you actually set yourself apart and you stand out from the crowd. Because when everybody else out there is only honoring when they get honored, they're only honoring when they agree with someone's perspective or opinion. And if you come from the same line of thought that I do, then obviously you're going to agree on this. But if you come from a different line of thought and you've gotten caught up in the rat race and you've gotten caught up in social media, in society, in the news, and all the negativity, I'm going to challenge you on this one. And I'm going to challenge you to step out of the box that we sometimes put ourselves in, these 4 walls that we create, that this is my box, this is my lane, this is who I vote for, these are my beliefs. That's fine. And I'm also proud of the way I believe, and I'm proud of the way I think, and I'm proud of, a lot of things that I stand for. But what has happened is we have allowed what we stand for to become the gospel. And if we're not careful, what we can do is we can turn differences into a weapon of dishonor against somebody else. And when you dishonor another human being, first off, if you go back to one of my core beliefs, one of the laws that I live my life by, which is reaping and sowing, when you sow dishonor, you reap dishonor. When you hand out dishonor, you get back dishonor. When you dishonor, you get dishonored. But when you choose to stand for honor and you choose to be an advocate of your fellow man, and you know what honor does? Honor gives grace when people mess up. We live on planet Earth, and on planet Earth, we are surrounded by people. Have you noticed that? We're surrounded by people. And we are surrounded by flawed people. I'm flawed. How about you? Remember? Okay. Even though you're at home by yourself, you can still raise your hand. How many of you know you're surrounded by flawed people, people that make mistakes, people that aren't perfect? And let me ask you, how would you want somebody to treat you when you misstep, when you fall short, when you don't live up to their expectations or maybe your own expectations? Which one builds a bridge? Which one creates trust? Which one creates a long-term relationship where you want to work with somebody? And which one makes you go, meh? I'm out of here, right? Honor is what builds trust. Honor is what builds relationships. Honor is what we need to reunite our world. Honoring one another above all else. Honoring one another. And when you do this inside of your home, when you do this inside of your marriage, realizing that the person you're married to is a flawed human being that leaves their socks on the ground sometimes, even after you've talked about it 10 times. When you honor through that, it builds trust. When you honor the customer who is overreacting or misinterpreting something your company did, when you honor a customer who's attacking your company or attacking your products, when you honor a customer who is out there spreading negativeness about your company, when you so honor, you will get honor. When you actually step back, if you have a client that's not satisfied and you actually, because how does honor, let's talk about this for a second. How does honor approach a situation versus how does dishonor approach a situation? Dishonor says, nope, you're wrong. I'm right. See it my way. Here's how it is, buddy. I'm right. You're wrong. That's what dishonor does, right? Like dishonor doesn't care about the other person's feelings. Dishonor, let's just go back to the antonyms. Dishonor blames, it criticizes, it neglects, it condemns, it makes a person feel like they're unimportant, depressed, it humiliates, it disgraces, it scorns, and it disregards. That's what dishonor does. But honor listens. Honor observes. Honor executes. Honor builds trust. Honor builds your reputation. Honor is faith. It's giving credit. It's confidence. And so dishonor doesn't listen to a customer's complaints. Dishonor says, yeah, right, he's a jerk. But honor says, hey, I'm so sorry that you feel that way. What can we do to make it better? That's what honor does. Honor honors the other human being, whether you agree or not. And when I was first brand new in business, I was really proud of my company and I was really proud of what we stood for. And when a customer would call in and complain or have a concern, my knee-jerk reaction would be to defend. Nope, that's not what happened. That's not what we did. That's not what we meant. That's actually what this says here. And I would want to defend. I would want to argue versus just honoring the other person and listening. Just hearing them out, apologizing, taking responsibility for our part and asking, what can we do to make this right? And what can we do to feel better in the future? Because we value you as a customer and we honor your feedback. So thank you so much for taking the time to call us. Thank you for giving us the shot of making it right. We value you and we value whether you choose to continue doing business with us. I want you to know that we bless you either way. That is honoring another customer. It's honoring a human. It's actually bigger than a customer. It's honoring a freaking human. And when you honor a human and they feel honored, they will you will take the most negative person and flip around the most negative customer who did not like your business. You can flip them around to make them your biggest advocate through honor. You can take a marriage that is knocking on divorce's doorstep and through honor, flip that marriage around into having a marriage that you freaking only dreamed of through honor. but you're never going to get to where you want to go on a planet filled with human beings without honor. And it is a choice. It is a choice. We literally get to choose every day when we're talking to people. Are we going to choose to communicate with honor or with dishonor? And we are all human beings. And sometimes there's still times I fall short. There's still times I'll snap at my husband or I'll say something to my kids and it'll be dishonorable. And it's not about being perfect. It's about making progress. And when I do mess up, it's about going back and saying, hey, please forgive me. I was wrong. And I'm going to try to do better in the future. Number 3, our last and final point for our 3 keys to unlocking your potential is vision. Okay? Vision. Where are you going? Who are you going with? Why are you doing what you're doing? It is vision. And the number 1 thing that I see that keeps people stuck, that keeps them from unlocking their potential, that keeps them from unlocking their success, that literally keeps them stuck on the sidelines versus in the game is a lack of vision. It is a lack of vision. And the thing that I see in all people that are succeeding, whether it's with their health, whether it's with their finances, whether it's in business, in marriage, in parenting, really any area of life, one of the keys to success, to unlocking your potential is vision. It's knowing, having a vision for where you're going. And I want to use this example for this because it illustrates it so perfectly. So a GPS is a really amazing invention. And I often find myself driving, thanking God for giving us this technology of a GPS. Because are any of you old enough to remember what life was like before a GPS? Right before the GPS was like MapQuest. You could like enter it in on the computer and then you could print off the directions and it would tell you where to turn. And you'd have to like hit your odometer. So it wouldn't say go 6.4 miles. You'd hit your odometer and it would tell you. Before MapQuest, oh, then it was, the maps, the atlases, pulling over on a road trip, figuring out where you're at. Like it was much harder to travel before a GPS. So a GPS is an amazing invention. If the GPS knows where you're going. Because the only way a GPS works is if you take the GPS and you enter the coordinates for where you're going. If you enter the coordinates for where you're going, the GPS will take you right there. It'll give you the shortest route. It'll avoid tolls if you want it to. It'll reroute you around traffic if it knows where you're going. But if you pull your GPS up, if you pull your map up and you don't enter the coordinates, you don't tell the GPS where you're going, then what happens? Well, she is going to follow you around, and my GPS, she has a name. Because she talks to me, I figure I might as well talk back to her. My GPS, I don't know about your GPS, but my GPS broad is pushy. I know several of them are pushy. I was just in an Uber a couple weeks ago, and the broad on our driver's little GPS was like, drop Carmen off here. Drop Carmen off now. I said, our GPS broads must be sisters. They are pushy. So listen, they're only pushy. They only tell you what to do if you have a destination on where you're going. Oh, sorry. I know some of y'all mute her. You turn her down so you can't see her and you just follow the signs because you don't like how pushy she is. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And some of you are like, wow, you're cray cray. I know. Sorry. So if you don't set your coordinates, if you don't tell the GPS where you want to go, then what it does is it follows you around. It simply just follows you and shows you where you're going, but it doesn't give you any feedback. It doesn't give you any input. It doesn't tell you if you're off track. It doesn't tell you if you need to make a U-turn and go the other way. It simply follows you. And life is the same way. Life is the same way. Your vision is the coordinates of where you're going. Your vision is what tells you where you're going and how you're going to get there. Your vision is what keeps you going when you want to quit. Because if here's where you're at and here's where you want to go, there's a road that goes from where you're at to where you want to go. And on that road, some of it is amazing funness. Some of it is laughter. Some of it is, all the things you've always wanted to do. And then there's also things on that road that suck. There's also some things on that road that you're like, see that big pothole there? There's always, no matter what your goal is, no matter what your dream is, no matter where you want to get your life, no matter where you want to move it to, there's always things in that line that are going to suck. There's always going to be times on the road to success that you're going to want to quit. There's always going to be times that you want to give up and you want to give in. But the thing that is going to overcome all those obstacles, the thing that is going to help you overcome those moments when you want to give up and give in, the thing that is going to help you push on when you want to let go is your vision. When your vision is strong enough, hear me, when your vision is strong enough, literally nothing else matters. When your vision is strong enough, look out, get out of your way, nothing else matters. But when you have no vision and you don't know where you're going and you don't know why you're going and what you're going for, and if you don't know what all the hard work is for and what the sacrifice is for, then you will give up and you will give in at the first sign of trouble. You will give up and you will give in when the first obstacle presents itself. And you didn't come this far to only come this far. You have a dream. You have a goal. You have a desire planted inside of you. Not to be mean, not to torture you, not to go neener, blah, blah, blah. No, it's planted in you because you're supposed to have it. And the key to overcoming all the crap that's going to be thrown at you as you're trying to go get it, because listen, before any testimony comes a test. If you want your life to be a testimony, there's going to be a test to see how bad do you want it. How bad do you want the thing that you say that you want? How bad? But your vision is going to push you past the test. Your vision is going to propel you past the obstacles that try to stop you. And your vision is your responsibility. Just like my vision is my responsibility. And the way vision happens is it starts off really small. And through working on it, through watering it, through continuing to cultivate it, it grows. It grows. So I started working on my vision when I was a teenager. When I was in 10th grade, I saw a woman on a stage. And I said, someday, I want to be on a stage impacting people's lives. Someday, I want to be able to use my experiences to help other people go from where I was to where I thought my life would be. I started working on that vision as a 10th grader. I worked on that vision. Some seasons, I worked on it more. Sure, there were seasons where I got off track and I lost my way, but I always went back to working on that vision. Why have I been able to persist through all the crap, through the 3 kids, through the seasons of just being a stay-at-home mom and pouring into my kids, to now being back out in the marketplace, going after my goals and my dreams, pushing past all the obstacles that we both have. How do I know we both have them? Because we live on planet Earth. And adulting is hard, and it doesn't come with a manual, but it is figure-outable. Adulting is figure-outable. Everything in life is figure-outable. Are you willing to figure it out? Are you willing to go through the test to get the testimony? Are you willing to go through the hard in the beginning? Because there's always a hard. The hard either comes on the front end or the back end, but there's always a hard. And so what is your vision? What's your vision? And it's okay if it starts small, but as you work on it, as you water it, it's just like a corn stalk. When you plant a corn seed in the ground, it starts off as a little bitty sprout, barely poking through the ground. You could blow on it and get it to come out of the ground. But as you water it and as you take care of it, it grows into this giant corn stalk that produces a harvest. And so these 3 things we talked about tonight, these 3 keys to unlocking your potential, you're on this webinar for a reason. It's because you know there's more to life than what you currently are living. I want to invite you to come back to this page. I want to invite you to let's be virtual BFFs. That you would, every time you see there's a webinar here on this page, that you would make it an appointment in your calendar. That when you see next week, Mr. Jackie O'Quinn's going to be here, you would make an appointment in your calendar. That when you see that the CEO of the company, Mr. Ken Brown, is going to be live on one of the platforms, you would make an appointment in your calendar. And for those of you that really want to pour some gasoline on the fire, I want to give you a personal invite to join me. We have a very special thing taking place at the end of October, beginning of October, October 8th, 9th, and 10th to be exact. It's called First Steps to Success. And we're going to be going more into depth in these 3 things we talked about, as well as a lot of other things. We're going to be moving some stuff out of the way. Because again, you're here, here's where you're at, here's where you want to go. There's some boulders that we're going to be moving out of the way. There's some potholes we're going to be filling in. There's some very specific strategic skills that we're going to be giving you to help you have unusual success, to unlock your potential, to unlock your success, to get off the sidelines and in the game. And the most amazing part about the October event, which is October 8th, 9th, and 10th, is it's virtual. So as long as you have a screen, as long as you have access to the internet, you can get some friends together. You can create a watch party. We have watch parties going on all throughout the US. But more importantly, even bigger than the watch party, is will you be there? We are in a time where skill and equipping yourself with the skill to succeed is more important than ever. Because if you look back at history, during every crisis, there are people that rise up, gain wealth during a pandemic. People that go from nothing to something during uncertain times. And this time will be no different. There will be people that rise up out of an ash heap and go from nothing to something. But they are going to be the people that don't put their head in the sand. They are going to be the people that are making sure during these uncertain times, they are getting themselves equipped with skill. So if you go down below this webinar, there's going to be a link where you're going to be able to grab your spot to First Steps to Success coming up October 8th, 9th, and 10th. You're going to make sure that you're not left behind, and you're going to make sure that you are taking your future into your own hands and you're not leaving it to chance. So thank you so much for spending this time with us tonight. I feel so fortunate and so blessed to be able to carve out this time that we could spend together. And I can't wait to see you back here in a couple weeks where we're going to be talking about some strategies to help you get more done in less time. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, share, and we'll see you on the next one.